Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel for another track guide on Gran Turismo 7. We're back with the Daily Race C guide, which is at Fuji in Group 2. We're currently on racing soft tyres with BOP on and the default setup, so you're not allowed to change the setup for this car. Now do bear in mind, in the race conditions you're going to be on medium tyres, but in terms of lines and gears and everything, it's not actually going to be hugely different because your braking zones are pretty similar because you're going a little bit slower out the corners anyway in terms of traction, and you've obviously got fuel on board as well, so do bear that in mind that it's going to be pretty much identical. Maybe just be a tiny bit more cautious on the braking zones and stuff like that, but for time trial, let's get you qualified as high as we can on that grid. So if you do enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comment section how much you improved, if it gained you time and stuff like that. I do love reading these comments. So let's get on with the guide and give you as much tips as we can to help you get as far up that grid as possible. So starting the guide, obviously first thing first, try and get a reasonably good exit off this corner. Now I'm actually on a lap trying to push at the moment, so we don't get the best exit, but I do deliberately go a little bit wider there to try and get an exit. We did this live on stream last night. We were very tired. It was at the end of a 10-hour stream, so starting to feel a bit tired, but we managed to improve our lap and give you this guide. So going into turn 1, we're going to be looking for our first brake reference, which you're going to be looking to brake just short of the 100 board. So you're going to see the 100 board up ahead now. Just in the distance there, you can see there's the 100 board. You're braking just short of that, very late with these racing soft tyres. So just as we come to the 100 board there, you can see the braking inputs are going in now. You can see the start of the braking inputs there. And we're going to get the car over to the left-hand curb before just chucking it in before this white line you can see in the road there. And obviously trying to get this car in as close to the apex as possible. Now, we're going to brake and trail brake all the way into the apex. You see it there. And try and get your right-hand tyre to almost skim the green bit of Astro on the right-hand side there. That's going to help rotate the car. So early upshift to second gear and really attacking the throttle there to use the throttle to rotate the car. You can see a little bit squeamish on the exit, but we get away with that and now working our way into the next braking zone. So for this one, we're braking in between the 100 and the 50 board, pretty much dead in the middle there. You can see tiny bit of braking input going in here. Now, you're not going to be heavy on the brakes. It's just a tiny bit of braking. You can see there, just a little dab. And we're trying to get that car to rotate onto the green Astro. You're almost going to try and hit the bollard on the left there as close as you can to that and attack it all the way on the exit. Now, one thing about this exit is make sure you get your tyres back onto the track before the end of the curb, because that's how you get a penalty if you don't do that. So you can see back onto the track, and now we're going to try and stay narrow to the apex. You see I keep it nice and tight through here in 5th gear. Now I do recommend 5th gear, thanks to wind for that suggestion. It does help with the way the car carries speed through here. A little dab of the brakes just again to help with rotation, and back on that throttle before we get to the exit apex. You can see there we're going to try and keep that car as close to this white line as possible. You see on the throttle we're not going to lift until we start rotating it in now, which you really want to try and rotate this car all the way to the right and to left. We use that little bit of darker board on the right that you've seen there that was circled in yellow as a reference for our braking point. You can see straight on the brakes around that point. And now we're going to go down to second gear and we're going to trail brake again all the way into the corner. And just before we get to apex here, you can see we're completely off the throttle and the brake. This is because we're going to let the car rotate onto the curb and then aggressive on that throttle. You want to carry as much exit speed from here as possible because you can really gain quite a lot of time if you get that corner right and carry the speed all the way through this acceleration phase. Now I'm going to keep the car all the way over to the right hand side of the track just for the shortest distance possible to this next braking zone. We're going to use that Dunlop board above us there as a braking reference. You can either use that or the shadow underneath. Now you're going to brake just past that. So just as we go past the shadow, braking inputs going in, and we're going to downshift quite aggressively through the gears because you want to slow this car down. So down to second gear, and then as we chuck it in first gear, we're trail braking all the way into the apex again. As we're going through here, you want to get your right hand tyre onto that green bit of Astro because you can cut quite a lot of this corner, and that's going to help rotate as soon as you get on the throttle. You see, as soon as we're over it, on the throttle, and we're going to use that throttle to rotate the car to the right and then chuck it into the left. And again, this is very much all about throttle. We're going to start coming off the throttle at this stage because this is going to allow us to rotate the car into the apex, and then you can see back on that throttle aggressively to help carry the exit speed. Now you can get as close to that bollard again. You can actually skim and hit that bollard and you shouldn't get a penalty if you do it right. So yeah, you can be quite aggressive up to that. And now I use the start of the green Astro as pretty much my braking reference, or the end of the grass. You can see there, very good reference to use on the brakes, pretty much dead at the end of the grass there. And this is your sign to start turning into the corner as well. You can see chucking the car into the apex, green Astro on the right, again use it to rotate the car down to second gear, and you're going to see I put the throttle in very carefully here. You can see about 70-80%. We're not going to go 100% until we're fully confident. An early upshift to third gear to settle the car down as we come out the exit there. And again, the end of the curb there, that line, very good as a reference for your braking input. So you can see just as we come to the end of the curb, braking inputs going in here. Now we're not going to be aggressive on the brakes. It's only going to be a little bit of braking, trail braking. You see about 50%, and that's to keep the car in the middle of the track and getting it into this apex for this very tricky left-hand corner, because this again is all about exit speed. So you're going to go down to first, then back up to second, and keep an eye on that throttle inputs there. Very aggressive, because we're going to almost take the car straight over this curb, because you want to use as much exit speed as possible and use the full track width. So fully out wide there, and now we're going to rotate it into this very tricky last corner. You can see this is all about using the track width but trying to get it into the apex for the final part of the corner. So again, trail braking into the corner, this is going to help rotate the car, and then as we come off the trail braking, you're going to see we're going to start putting that throttle in quite aggressively, because we want to get this car onto this apex and carrying the speed out as much as possible. So onto apex, maximum attack on the exit. This is all about getting as much exit speed as possible. And now keep your eye on the mirror. This is the difference between a bad exit and a good exit. Look at that ghost. If you're on the throttle nice and early, you can gain a tenth or two easily just by the exit off the corner. Now one thing to remember is do not change gear before the finishing line, because you're going to lose a little bit of time. There's no point to do that when you're on a good lap. Keep that fifth gear revving out for the ultimate lap time. So let's watch that lap again from the chase camera. So going into turn one, you're going to see again braking just short of that 100 board and getting the car over to the left. And look how we use the curb to rotate the car. Aggressive on that second gear as well. You can see the rear almost losing control slightly there, but then again in between this corner you can see how aggressively we attack this left hand corner. So again, use the curb. It's all about using the full track width. And again on the exit, use every inch of the track that you can, because it will gain you a lot of time, especially in a car like Group 2. You can carry so much more speed through the corners. Again, swinging the car from the right into the left on the throttle as early as possible. Now working our way into the next braking reference. And again, you can see how I keep the car the shortest distance possible, just to save you vital few tenths of a second. So again, into the braking zone, using that Dunlop board. And again, look how much of the curb we take off. It's all about utilizing the full width of the track. Again, on the exit here, we're going to use the curb on the right, and again using the curb on the left, swinging it in again to the curb on the right. See, it's all about using that full width of the track. This will gain you a lot of time with this car. Again, into this corner, use the curb, and again on the exit, use the exit curb to get the car as much exit speed as possible. So again, into this right hand corner, nice and tight to the apex is very important to get the car out of that corner as fast as you can. So you want to really get on the throttle. It's all about exit speed. And again, this fifth gear, you're going to see, let it rev out, and you won't have to do that shift, which will lose you time. So over the line, 1 minute 28.4, a pretty solid lap. Hopefully this guide will help you improve your lap time, and help you improve in the race as well. Let me know in the comments if it does. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and I'll see you again for more streams and videos.